Communicating with your ex without losing your mind. You might think to yourself, do I really have to communicate with my ex? I just don't ever want to talk to them or see them ever again. Every time I see a call coming through from my ex, my stomach just does a flip. Or it always ends in an argument when we talk to each other to try to discuss an issue or negotiate on parenting arrangements or property settlement. They blame me for everything. So how can we negotiate parenting or property agreements when we can't even talk to each other? If I ask for something, they always say no. Every time our child has a bruise, my ex thinks I've hurt our child. They always criticize my parenting. It's just too hard communicating with my ex. So do I really need to? Yes, you do need to communicate with your ex, unless it's unsafe to do so. You have to be co-parents for so many years as you're still a family, even though you're not partners. So as co-parents, it creates so much tension and stress for your children if you cannot speak to each other. So if you turn up to a handover, you can't even do the pleasantries of, hi, how you going? Hope you have a good weekend. It's really hard for the children to understand why a parent is giving the silent treatment or making it as though you don't like the other parent, which you might not like the other parent, but to your child, that really creates a sense of sadness. So you may be creating this triangulation if you refuse to speak to your ex, and you might pass on messages through the kids because you just don't want to communicate with them. But the problem with that is you're bringing your child into the conflict. So you're actually using them as the messenger so that when they go and tell the message to the other parent, they're at the forefront of the backlash. So it's really important just to make sure that you're not putting your child in that situation. You may feel hurt and angry, but this just delays your healing if you continue on without being able to communicate with your ex. It's just this constant bitterness and anger and sadness that's fueling the lack of communication. And sometimes chaos reigns if you delay negotiations for parenting and property arrangements. You might be thinking, no, I just can't be dealing with my ex. So I'd prefer not to talk to them about our negotiations, just leave things as they are, or we'll just wait and go to court. But you have an obligation to the children to help them get through the challenges ahead. So the sooner that you can get through your separation process, not saying agree to everything, but it's negotiating, making sure that you're going through the challenges, keep moving forward, not staying in limbo in this situation where you can't communicate together. You'll find that things will improve once you get through the tension of negotiations. Your children can absorb your toxic energy, which impacts their behavior. So if they see you being mean to the other parent or giving them the silent treatment, then this can invoke behavior issues with your child because they want their parents to be happy. They want to be able to see that both parents love the child. And if there's too much chaos and conflict, then it's not doing the right thing by the child in making sure that you're being child focused. So what can you do to avoid going out of your mind? Well, you need to reality test your thoughts. So when something happens, just think to yourself, when the immediate thought comes into your head, is this constructive or destructive? So it's really important to assess that because that can send you either down a positive solution mode or it could keep you stuck in the problem focus mode. You really want to be able to think about how the child views what's going on. So look through the lens of the child as opposed to looking at how it affects you. You want to be able to always be focusing on how it's affecting the children. You want to be able to set boundaries. So you might find that there are things that niggle you, that annoy you, that are going on at the moment during the separation. And that could be something like your ex just walks into the house at changeover to drop the kids off. And that might really get under your skin because you might think, well, they don't live here anymore. They shouldn't be just waltzing in. It's my home. I don't want my ex just wandering in when they want to. So you don't want to get into the argument of, oh, well, this is still my house. And you saying, well, this is my home. I want privacy. You want to be able to avoid having the conflict. You want to be able to just put actions in place. So if you don't want them coming into the house, you basically just watch out for them pulling up on the driveway and walk out to the front door and out to the front to collect the children, to avoid them having the need to come in to make sure the kids get in okay. So it's about you taking some actions in setting those boundaries without actually telling them that you're setting boundaries. It's just through your actions. You want to be a really good role model. You got to think to yourself, what version of myself do I want the kids to see? Do they want to be constantly seeing me yelling and screaming or crying or carrying on that I'm being seen to not be in control of getting through these challenges, because it makes the children feel very unsafe if they feel that there's an environment where even the parent can't handle it. So how on earth am I as a child going to get through this if my parents are struggling? So you need to be able to be a role model. You need to be able to communicate calmly and respectfully. You want to be able to understand your values and your strengths. So making sure that you understand your values so that you don't go outside of those. Most of us have fairness or honesty as a value that we uphold. So it's really important to make sure that we try to not go against our values. And you'll know when you go against your values because you'll feel a bit sick in your stomach or you'll feel something's a bit off. So it's really important to just make sure that, you're looking at, okay, I'm being fair, I'm being honest, I'm not lying. So it's really important to make sure you stick with those values. And there's obviously lots of other values that you could have, but always assess whether you're really being your true self in living your values. And then you may have strengths. So you could be good at organizing things, good at communication, good at, um, you know, being creative, coming up with solutions. So there's different strengths that you can try to identify so that you can bring those into your co-parenting relationship. Become self-aware of your reactions. Now, these are triggers. So this is where you might get triggered whenever a certain topic gets brought up, which could be, someone's demanding something of you, not giving you options or choices. They may not be getting your input, or they might be criticizing your parenting style. So it's all of these triggers that look at the pattern of what's happening and what tends to create a trigger in you to lose your cool, because you want to be able to make sure that you're managing your triggers, or the looking out to see that, if something triggers you, start using some strategies to help get through that. So you could be doing deep breathing, take a break, just walk away, or have some empathy. Sometimes you need to walk in their shoes. Do they have a point? Are you doing something that you wouldn't like being done to you? Also, as I mentioned, look through the child's eyes. They're looking at you, both of their parents fighting. So just imagine how they're feeling. And then do some grounding. So, that's where you look to start identifying things in the background, to take the focus away from the conflict. Just start thinking about all the things you can see, all the things you can hear, all the things that you can smell, all of those different senses, using the different senses to take you away from the actual conflict. Always seek professional help. You can go to your GP and get referrals, You go to counselling. You can engage a divorce coach that will help you through. A parenting coordinator helps you once you have orders in place to help you with the conflict that's going on, to help resolve those disputes, and create a plan of action to keep moving forward. So that's where a divorce coach can really help you so that you don't feel stuck. You always know what the next steps are, and you can start to develop that plan and really see the milestones being ticked off. That's done, and know that you're coming out the other side to be able to rebuild your life. Remember, your ex's opinion about you doesn't matter anymore. So don't take it so personally, because you're not in a relationship with them. As long as you're being your best self, whatever they say, they could be saying something nasty to you out of their own hurt, insecurities, or just being nasty. So don't even consider that their opinion um, could be could be right. As long as you're being your best self, then they're coming from an insecurity themselves. Now, here's an example that you can do yourselves where your ex texts you to say you can't come to your child's football game on the weekend. You might be enraged, saying, I would need to be there. I've always been there. You can't make those demands of me. So what you need to do is just really sort of think through what your immediate thoughts are. So are they constructive or destructive? So if it's constructive, you might be thinking, oh, I wonder why they don't want me to go there. What's going on? What's happened? What's my child feeling? Is it a situation where there's so much conflict when we're there? When I reflect on other times that I'm there, we end up in a big fight, and it's really not good for our child to see us that way. So you need to have a think about whether your thoughts are destructive or constructive. So constructive is looking for a solution, looking for like positive, having a positive thought of, oh, well, it could be, something's an issue for me to go on the weekend that's related to the ex. They might have to, go to work, and so they've got your child going with another parent and their son to the soccer game. You'll find that sometimes through text, particularly in separation, limited amount of information is provided. So sometimes we're not given all of the background information into some of the things that are requested. So always have a think first before you respond, whether it's constructive or destructive. Become self-aware of your reactions. Now, these can be physical. Your heart might start to race. You might start to grit your teeth. You might start to get hot. You might start to clench your fists. Also look at your emotional responses. You might start to get angry. You might start to be frustrated. You might be very saddened. So write those down and just think about how it's made you feel. Do you usually react or respond? So if you react, you might immediately reply with a text saying, well, too bad, I'm coming, without sort of having an understanding about what the reasons are and how you might be able to work together on a strategy to make it suitable for both of you to be there, and understanding what the cause is. So to respond is basically doing just that, is really having a think about what the reason might be. You might do some inquiry of, is there a problem with me being there? Has our child mentioned that they're upset or anything? What's the reason that you think we shouldn't be there together? Because you can come up with different solutions to end up not having a big fight whereby you end up not being able to go, or you go there and there's a big fight. So you might negotiate together, what the reason is. It might be that your child is really upset that you both keep fighting in front of their friends, that it's putting loyalty bind on your child. When they kick a goal, they don't know who to run to because one parent's at one end of the field and the other's at the other. So it's really about trying to work out what the problem is, and also making sure that you you work towards a solution. So, that could be looking at, okay, one goes to the game this week and another parent goes the next week. There's always solutions to the problems. So it's really important to think about how is this going to impact your child, rather than how it impacts you. So if you text back saying, no, I've been going to the games all the time, I shouldn't have to not go. You've got to think about how it's going to affect your child and use that as the way to communicate. So say, yeah, but Johnny's been used to me coming to the game every week. They're going to be so disappointed and they're going to think I don't want to go, and that will hurt their feelings. So what's the reason behind me not being able to go? So always look at how you can turn this from a problem to a solution. So I'll come up with some ideas of how you might be able to reduce the impact on the child if it is an issue that the child is having with both of you being there because of the conflict. You need to come up with some form of solution. Once again, it could be going on alternate weekends, or it could be a situation where you both agree to be able to be civil and respectful toward each other so that your child is not feeling that there's going to be an eruption of conflict at any moment. You can always think of your inspirational hero and ask yourself what they might do in this situation. Now, that could be a parent who you've always admired for their calmness. They always can find a solution, or it could be a work colleague. It could even be someone like a movie star, a influencer in the world. It could be anybody that is someone that you look up to and who are inspirational in how they conduct their life. So then just think about what you think they would do in this situation. And what version of you do you want your kids to see? Do you want them to see you angry, frustrated, yelling, screaming? Or do you want them to see you being able to manage a situation whereby you're calm, respectful, and being solution focused? So how can you tap into your strengths to come up with a solution? As I mentioned, you might be able to be good at organizing. You might be good at communicating. You might be good at, all different, creative solution problem solving. So this is where that you can tap into those strengths that you may use at work, that you deal with either difficult customers or difficult work colleagues. You can't have big fights at work. So there are situations, or have big fights with customers. You might have strengths that you can tap into, or strategies that you use when dealing with difficult clients or work colleagues. And once again, seek that professional help. Get the counselling or a divorce coach, parenting coordinator, and most importantly, get some self-care. So when you're feeling very tense, when you're really needing to get some relaxation and calm into your life to be able to help you build that stamina for these challenges that occur, make sure you're making time for yourself. You could go to the gym, go for a walk in nature, take the dog for a walk along the beach, even soak in a bubble bath or read a book, listen to music. There are lots of things that can help you with self-care to help you just reset and recharge the batteries. So have a think about this particular problem and work out how you might handle it, how you might have handled it in the past, but how you might handle it into the future. If you want to engage with a divorce coach or parenting coordinator, you can go to thedivorcecentre.com.au and be able to engage with myself in being able to help you through these difficult times.